good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for attending our live webinar on cryptocurrency taxation in the Philippines. And later this discussion, we will be having a great discussion on crypto income and revenue streams on cryptocurrency and how these income and revenue streams are taxed. And just for everyone's information, we are trying to bring clarity into the matter of cryptocurrency and taxes. And then I hope when our emotions run high, especially when it comes to crypto and taxes, let's all be objective and let's take let's all glean information and knowledge from this discussion, from this webinar. It will be a very great and meaty discussion. But before we begin and before I introduce our speaker, Attorney Mike David, here's a few words from our partners that have made this webinar possible.
Freelancing or running your own business is not all fun and games the way most people make it out to be. It's not just about working at home in coffee shops or having all that time in your hands. Sure, you are your own boss, but this also entails taking charge of your own health insurance, making voluntary contributions to SSS, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig. Then there's taxes. Like employees, the self-employed are required to register with BIR for tax filing. When you apply for a tourist visa, loans for housing and cars, or even a credit card, one of the usual requirements is an income tax return, or ITR. Diligently keeping track of your taxes saves you from more problems in the long run. And perhaps it's time to check out TaxSumo. It lets freelancers, business owners, and self-employed professionals file taxes online in minutes. That way, you can focus more on your passion and stop worrying on taxes. Sign up with us at www.taxsumo.com.
All right. Thank you once again for our partners for helping spread the word about this webinar. So let's now welcome our speaker, Attorney Mike David. He's a Chief FinTech Officer of the Cagayan Economic Zone Authority, an Associate Legal Counsel and faculty member of De La Salle University. And together with us this afternoon is E.G. Arboleda, the CEO of TaxSumo, and Attorney Kevin Baldonado, the Chief Legal Officer of TaxSumo. Welcome to the webinar, guys.
Hello.
Thanks, Lee. Good afternoon. And attorney, I've said this kanina, thank you for agreeing to do this, no, and for helping educate us about all of this.
Yes. It's my pleasure, and also thank you for Kevin for inviting me to do this. So I was saying during our backstage talks, these are the things we usually talk about in the corridors back in law school. So now we're just sinasama na natin yung mga audience natin ngayon sa mga discussion natin.
Nice. OG hodlers pala tong dalawang tong kasama natin, guys, today. Ayan.
Great.
So
all right. Yeah, I guess we can start, attorney. We won't, we'll let you do your thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And guys, before we begin as well, please comment your questions down below because we will be answering them in the Q&A portion after Attorney Mike's presentation.
Great. Yeah, I'll be looking forward to all of that. Again, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mike David. I'm a practicing lawyer for the past 5 years and a certified public accountant for the past 10 years. So I'm here to talk about basically to give you a brief backgrounder, a warm-upper of the increasing interest and activity with regard to cryptocurrency. So that's why we entitled this as some sort of an introduction to what the Philippines have on taxes and on cryptocurrency. So before we begin in diving into the deeper side of things when it comes to these cryptocurrency transactions, we'd really want to be on the same page. So what's today's agenda? Agenda is first we're going to have a brief background on what currency is and how is it different from cryptocurrency. And second to that is we should have a good run through of what income taxation is, and because that's all the buzz nowadays, and that's not only within the crypto sphere but also in social media and other up and coming industries. And because of that, we'll be able to identify revenue streams for most cryptocurrency activities. And along the way, all throughout the way, I'll be providing certain regulations, laws, and even articles that have been written based on what the industry is right now and what we all think is going to happen in the next few years. And of course, after all of that, would appreciate that you would be raising your questions, you have your concerns, we're gonna have a Q&A portion after the whole presentation. And I promise I'm gonna make it real quick and we'll try to make it as interesting as possible. Okay, so let's begin. So for a brief backgrounder, we're facing, I'd want to introduce five currencies. And why is it important? Later on, you're going to see that when we're about to connect taxation, cryptocurrency, and just basically income, all of these things would come into play. All these five, from currency, what currency is, what fiat is, e-money, virtual currency, and what cryptocurrency eventually is. So first up, we have to start with what is currency. We just have to talk about this. Most people would really not talk about it, but um, what is a currency? It's basic. It's basically three things. What Miller said in his article in 2010 says it is a unit of account. That means it is a unit or measure where prices, bank balances, obligations, and other things are reported or measured with. No? So in the colloquial, ito yung basihan. Ito yung value niya, no? So ito yung kung ano yung sinusulat natin sa mga books, sa mga ledgers, sa mga journals natin. So that is what a unit of account is. Second, and I think this is the most important aspect of what currency is, it is a medium of exchange. That means it is considered money because it is widely accepted by people as a payment for debts, obligations, or services. So that is a way for it to have a good measure, a good avenue of exchange between commodities and services. And lastly, a currency is a store of value. That means it should be able to store or hold on to that value for a substantial or reasonable period of time. So that means what is something that has a store of value. Unlike most things which would change value very quickly and specifically like cryptocurrency, a store of value should be able to hold the value for a long period so that there will be no rush to convert this currency to what, to a service, to a commodity, or other things that you would use to purchase it. So in all of these three things, that is what a currency is: unit of account, medium of exchange, and store of value. All these three should be in place before anything could be called a currency. Moving on, we now differentiate fiat currency to fiat currency. How is it more deeper here? Fiat currency is considered as legal tender. That means it is something that is backed by the government, or it is the central currency being endorsed by the government, as in our case, something that is being printed and minted by the BSP, which facilitate the whole medium of exchange in a country or a certain jurisdiction. Fiat basically means by the power of authority. So that means it is a centralized unit, and it is endorsed to promote exchanges between those people under its jurisdiction. So that's what fiat currency is. So how is it different from e-money then? So as we understand, here's where things get a little confusing. That's why I'm here to clarify things. E-money is simply a digital representation of fiat. No? So in Filipino, ito lang yung digital version ng pera natin. Ganun na ganun lang siya. Representation lang siya, walang masyadong in between pa doon, no? It is considered legal tender, and of course, e-money is convertible to fiat. No? So if you have e-money, you can go to their nearest exchange and have it converted to fiat. So that's what e-money is. That's what e-money is. How is it different to virtual currency now? Now things get a little bit more techy now. When we're talking about virtual currency, Basically, what a virtual currency is a currency, as we mentioned a while ago, that is created by a certain online community. This virtual currency is stored in an e-wallet. And the whole thing, the whole system is what we call a decentralized community, that because of the facility of this online community, may e-wallet, it provides for a variety of functions such as money transfers, exchange of goods, e-payments, online payments. So all of this would really ring a bell right now, no? Because of the pandemic, we have been using all of these facilities already. No, we have so many. Lahat ho yun virtual currency. They all run on virtual currency. And as I've mentioned a while ago, these can be exchanged with other virtual currencies or fiat as well. So that is basically what a virtual currency is. It is the bigger umbrella of what most virtual currencies or what cryptocurrencies are. Mentioning cryptocurrency is in fact a type of virtual currency. No, so nakikita na natin yung difference. Yun yung difference right now. So ang e-money, again, just to go back, is just a representation of what fiat money is. Virtual currency is the bigger classification, would have so much functions and would have a more variety of applicability. You know, when it comes to cryptocurrency, is a special type of virtual currency. It can be done through a centralized or a decentralized system. You know, maybe some are confused. Akala ko ba, pag cryptocurrency, decentralized yan. While yeah, it is decentralized in view of the government is not regulating it, or no government unit is regulating it. But let's say a certain organization would want to generate its own cryptocurrency without regard to third parties, then it becomes a centralized cryptocurrency, and that's for on their use. No? So it goes on as being a utility and everything. Why is it called cryptocurrency? Because unlike the other virtual currencies, cryptocurrency utilizes the technology of cryptography. That means the transmission of these values, not only messages, pati values, are cryptographically hidden. It means hindi madaling makita, hindi matitrace, at hindi rin siya madaling mahack. Because you have to perform a very complex mathematical solution to unlock it. And to make things easier, you would need keys to open that message before a transaction is completed. And basically, what cryptocurrency is in fact a product, or at least as what Bitcoin has done before, it is a product of what the blockchain technology, or it is the foundation, or is a byproduct of what blockchain technology is. So, I guess na-clear na natin no, kung ano ba talaga yung difference. No? So, if you're talking about virtual currency, marami yan. But if you're talking about cryptocurrency, it is a specific kind of virtual currency that requires all of these technologies in place. Okay? So now, let's talk about taxation. Ito na. Just to give you a very good or a very quick rundown of what taxation is, we have to identify two key terms here: revenue and income. These are two separate terms. They don't mean the same, I would tell you, because revenue would tell us that it is the gross inflow, no? Anything na nakuha mo, ito yung nasasabi natin, ito yung mga benta. Ito yung sales natin for the day. Okay? Ito yung mga nakukuha natin as revenue na mga actual bayad pa lang without considering the cost or the expenses yet. That is what revenue is. Hindi taxable yun. What is taxable in the general sense is income. And what is income? We have to be very specific on this. Income is any gain derived and realized. I have to emphasize those two words. It is a gain and it is something that is realized. Okay? One is a gain when there is an increase or there is a return on capital. Ibig sabihin, meron kang ininvest, no? Meron kang ininvest at aside from that, may bumalik. Yung bumalik, sumobra doon sa ininvest mo. Kaya sa return on capital. Kasi kung break-even ka lang, that's what you call return of capital. No? So very important yung preposition na on and off. No? Sana maalala pa natin ng grade school yun. But that's what's very important on it. And of course, what will trigger the taxation is the realization. of that income. It has to be realized. What do we mean? Later on, I'm going to give you an example of what realization is. But what is realization in this context is when there is reasonable possibility that the income will be received by the income earner. Ibig sabihin, very likely or 100% that that income earner will indeed receive the income. And that will trigger taxation. On that, we talked about what income earners are. These are all the types of income earners under our tax code. Perhaps most of you will not be concerned about what corporations are and all, but we typically classify individuals, we classify taxpayers into two, individuals or corporations. No? The term corporations will encompass partnerships and everything else that are governed by the SEC. Under individuals, maybe most of you are resident citizens. So that means all of your income, whether inside the Philippines or earned outside the Philippines, will be taxable. So I won't dwell so much on this, just to let you know that there are a lot of taxpayers and there are a lot of kinds of taxpayers and there are different treatments to them. But what is very important here is, just like what recently happened to Mr. Pacquiao, nanalo siya sa States, kumita siya sa States, so since resident citizen siya, taxable pa rin yung income niya. Okay, so later we're gonna discuss on that. How come pati yung online income ko kasama? So baka this part will remind you of that. Okay. Next, where is it taxed? Very important, no? Under the law, it's called the Situs of taxation. It simply says it tells us what is the place or where is the place of taxation. And to determine that, when it comes to income, it is the place where the income generating activity is conducted, or in this case, completed. Okay? So ano ba yung nag-create ng income? What made that taxpayer earn the income? So wherever that is where the place of taxation should be and the corresponding laws should apply. Ito, I'm adding a little on intangibles. Later, we're going to have some little predictions of what's going to happen. But I'm putting in intangibles here because there might be a chance that the government might impose a tax on the mere intangible nature of what these cryptocurrencies are. And should that happen, now should it happen, it's not yet happening, I don't see it happening right now, nor even the near future, but it can. So what I'm trying to say is, it will be considered as an intangible asset. Therefore, the tax laws over where the domicile or the residence of the owner will be applicable. Okay, so right now, concern pa lang natin is the income side. So when it comes to income, wherever the income is earned. So that's the first question. Okay? Next, we now know who are taxed, where is it taxed. The best question now, and the last question is, how much? Diba? I think on this part, it will settle a lot of questions already. I've been hearing this is from friends, sasabihin nila, ano ba yan? All of the earnings, ang liit na nga lang, itatax pa. In fact, true. But then, our laws would provide that there is a threshold. Hindi lahat ng income automatically matatax. In this case, what we have for individuals is that we have a 250,000 pesos threshold. Ibig sabihin, if your income doesn't exceed 250,000 pesos for the year, then there's no tax. Or to say it in the alternative, all income under 250,000 are not taxable. Ganun lang siya. Okay? So for corporations, maybe not many of you, but just for information, the corporate tax rate has been lowered to 20%, and to other corporations, it will be moved to 25% naman. Okay, just to give you an update on that. And to give you a visual of what that taxable or taxability issue is, here is the current tax table that we have. Ito ho yung sinasabi ko. No? If your income does not exceed 250,000 for the year, wala kang income tax. It's zero. So, I hope you understand na yung siguro naiisip ng marami or most of you would assume that when the government announced that these transactions are going to be taxable, It's not like what VAT is or some percentage taxes are. Unlike VAT, our income taxes are accumulated for the year. So for the year, you have to add everything up, and if it doesn't reach 250,000 or if it doesn't exceed 250,000, you have nothing to worry about. All of those income is exempted. Okay? However, if it should exceed, no, I think a lot of us would experience that. Then just follow the table here. It's very simple. 20% of the excess. So what's gonna happen is any excess from 250,000, pag within this range, no, you just pay 20% of that, and so on. So just follow this. So there's gonna be a basic tax and an additional tax. Now you just have to find where your annual income is. No, maybe a question will pop up. Eh di wag na lang akong mag-declare. Yeah, you can actually do that. But then there are ways. Then don't forget what you are transacting on are digital economies, no? And there will always be a paper trail. So you might not want to run that risk. Okay, so we're gonna see that later. We're gonna have more of that later on. So I guess what we accomplished here is we understand now what income taxation is on the basics. Okay. Now we jump to taxable activities, and I guess this is where most of our revenue streams no, will be coming from. I'm not saying all. No? I know there are a lot, but I think for the purpose of this webinar, we can narrow it down to three. First, for trading. Second, to mining. And third, maybe all of these play-to-earn gaming platforms. That is a big interest nowadays. No? So, jumping to trading, in cryptocurrency trading. Oh yeah, before I proceed, sorry, we're gonna be using a few acronyms here. IGA again just means income generating activity, and the trigger, and don't forget, will always be when the income is realized. Okay. So for trading, for cryptocurrency trading, if you're a trader, okay, this is what you'd want to hear. The income generating activity is the trading and the gain from that trade. That is just the activity that can be taxed. If you're going to ask, when is it going to be taxed or when is the tax due from that, it is only upon the conversion of that gain to fiat. Why? Here's the reason why I discussed all of the currencies a while ago. The reason about this is current regulations from the BSP, from the SEC, from the BIR even, does not identify the true nature or they do not assign or ascribe a nature or classification to what cryptocurrencies are. That, I'm not calling it a problem, that is the status right now. Because of that, since remember, don't forget, taxes are payable in money. And taxes are based on money. And money should be a currency. The problem is, cryptocurrencies are not yet recognized as currencies. Therefore, they're not fiat. Therefore, they're not taxable on their raw state. Do you get that? So in this case, the way our laws are calibrated, they do not recognize income despite there is an increase in the value of your cryptocurrencies and an exchange of cryptocurrencies. It only triggers when there is a conversion from cryptocurrency or any virtual currency to fiat because now it is measurable, it is now accountable. Accountable, we can say that. Right? So let's presume that the income is now considered realized. What are the income that we should expect? First, definitely we're going to expect income tax. And as I've discussed a while ago, it's any gain. Okay? So if you're going to ask me, what is the gain then? Well, in this case, when it comes to trading, the gain is anything you receive on top of your cost. Or how much did you buy that cryptocurrency for? And whatever amount you sold it, whatever amount beyond that cost will be considered a gain. and therefore a realized income should you convert it to fiat, and therefore taxable under income tax. No? Next, the next three taxes that I'm proposing here, I'm indicating here, are mere presumptions or something maybe we can predict or expect in the future, where a capital gains tax might be imposed if and only if the SEC would classify certain cryptocurrencies that are being utilized as securities or something that have speculative value, no? So if yung mga cryptocurrency natin ginagamit natin similar to what stocks are of public companies, no, it rings a bell to those who are trading their stocks. Should the government treat cryptocurrencies similar to stocks, then it will also trigger capital gains tax. And I would presume that it will be taxed the same way. Next, VAT. More likely, in fact, because VAT happens when there is an exchange of goods or services. No, that is it. That's the only requirement. As long as there's an exchange of goods or services, there's likely VAT that's going to be imposed. All right. So in this case, if it's the business of the taxpayer to trade and sell cryptocurrencies, most likely that taxpayer will be imposed value added tax. Only, again, ito na, may mga requirements tayo, and I really don't want to dwell so much about it, but on VAT, a person or taxpayer will only be what we call VATable or VAT taxable when the gross annual earnings would be greater than 3 million pesos. Otherwise, that person will be subjected to percentage tax. So, ganun siya. No? So, tandaan natin ano yung mga taxes na likely involved. Lastly, percentage tax. Why did I add this? Other than VAT, if you're not a VAT taxable person, you will be likely to be considered or be assessed percentage tax. And not only that, maybe separating it from the concept of what VAT is, percentage tax in its bare essence are those activities that the government deems to be taxable. If you want to learn more of what percentage tax is, you can simply just Google percentage tax, BIR. You will see a whole table there of certain activities having a corresponding tax rate. What does it tell us? What does this tell us? It tells us that the government can in fact enact a law that can simply say cryptocurrencies or traders of cryptocurrencies are going to be taxed at X% based on maybe their, who knows, their net transaction volume or something like that. If the government sees it and there's good basis for it, all they have to do is enact a law and poof, cryptocurrency trading will now be easily taxable under percentage tax. And I think that is what the United States did. I think that's what at least the path was for them to recognize and tax cryptocurrency transactions. So that's it. That's the general thing for traders, no? For traders of cryptocurrency. Now let's jump to miners. Miners are the ones who perform that highly technical job of obtaining or generating coins or the cryptocurrency itself. For example, Bitcoin. No? So they would usually employ a lot of people, manpower, resources. No, just to give you, an average, a typical mining facility. When I say mining facility for cryptocurrency, runs on maybe an electric bill equivalent to 2 months of your average household electric bill. Okay, on a single day. That's how the electric consumption is when it comes to generating one cryptocurrency, one coin, 2 months worth of electricity, something to that effect. No, parang ganun siya. It's very expensive. It's very difficult to do. Hence, the price of what Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are. Kaya siya mahal. Kasi mahal siyang kunin or i-mine or i-generate. Kaya siya mahal. So, when do these miners earn income? When they mine and generate the coin. So that's it. They have it. So now they have two choices. Either as what our organizer said, you hodl it or hold on for dear life, no HODL, or you sell it. No, as a miner, if you sell that coin, that is when the income is then realized. You sell it for fiat, of course. Now, if you sell it for fiat, then an income is recognized. Therefore, taxes will ensue. But if you only exchange that coin with another coin, under Philippine laws, not yet taxable. No, so fear not if you're a miner. So similarly, with what traders would expect for taxes, income tax will be there. Again, capital gains will be there because someone is holding a coin. The moment that a person is holding a coin, and should the government, again, it's not yet being implemented, but should the government see it as some speculative asset, then it could be taxed similarly to what with the trade of stocks are when it comes to capital gains tax. And again, if it's your business to mine and sell these coins, it can be subjected to value added tax. And if you meet the income, if you meet the earnings for VAT, then your VAT. If you're not, then you jump to percentage tax. Otherwise, the government again, we're not yet sure. The government can enact a law that can simply say all cryptocurrency miners are taxable at X% based on whatever. That can happen. Later, explain why. I'll explain why the government can do that. Lastly, for now, it is a big industry now. It's rising and it has generated a lot of interest and questions from friends. No, it is these play to earn gaming platforms. No, how does it work? I guess a lot of you have already dove into it early, are just early comers to this. Uh, Simply, the relationship is what's important here. Okay, the relationship between the players. And there are two kinds. There's a manager and usually a scholar. No? The manager owns uh, the performing coins, which should generate income from. If not, because of the rules of the game, uh, kailangan niyang mag-hire ng ibang tao to use it, and that person becomes a scholar. They have a special relationship when it comes to that transaction. Then another income generating action can happen. No? So from the manager, when it gets the cut from whatever the scholar generates, or it gets a gain on breeding, or that's the term, no? That's a clue on what am I talking about, and the actual trading, no, of this cryptocurrency. That is when a manager gets to earn income. When does it realize? Again, when it is converted to fiat. That will be the magic term. So don't forget. Okay, while you're still in the crypto sphere, as I would call it, you're basically safe from taxation. As a scholar, if you hodl, there's a sale, there's a cut, or you're given compensation. You know, it can happen. You're given compensation by the manager. Then all of those are income generating activities. If any of those would be reflected in fiat, then it would trigger taxation. And these taxes, see, similar then, could occur. Income taxes on them, capital gains most likely on the manager because technically he or she owns it, and VAT because most likely the manager would facilitate the whole business. And again, percentage tax, that elusive, and it can be something so spontaneous that the government can enact. So yun yung mga taxes natin with these um, most common kinds of transactions, no? These kinds of revenue streams. Maybe you're into other kinds, no? We can raise that in the question and answer later. But as you noticed, there will always be one trigger point when the income or gain is realized. And in this case, it is realized when that income is now treated as fiat or recognized as fiat. So yun yung very important factor natin. Unless, again and again, unless the government would give a separate classification, and that will just change everything. So that's something that we should be very, very aware of. No? That is why I'd like to make some conclusions, and perhaps later we're gonna have a question. So the first conclusion is, as you've seen, no, I was very, it seemed like parang wala namang kinuwento si Attorney Mike eh. Because wala talaga. So wala talaga tayong mapag-uusapan regulation because there has not yet been a very steadfast regulation on in classifying this cryptocurrency specifically, and that would create a tax effect. No, so that's very specific. No, it has not been classified enough and has not been given proper treatment to trigger taxes as we would expect. Kaya inaantay na lang natin silang mo-convert to fiat, and that's the only time we can, be taxed for them. But don't forget, no, while yes, regulations are still ambiguous, they are progressing. No, it has been a mere 2 to 3 years, and in the legal sphere, having movements in that is very fast. No, just quite recently, the BSP just released its circular 1108 that just identified what VASPs are. I think a lot of you would hear that, virtual asset service providers. So, see, all of these are happening. So, we'd expect more changes. Lalo na ngayon, it's attracting so much attention, and we've seen the income being generated by these players. So, we might expect some boost in regulation. And a while ago, I did say, how come the government can just make up taxes and collect and impose these activities and impose certain taxes to them? Because the taxing power of government is vast and supreme. In fact, it is the most powerful attribute of government, taxation. No, maybe you heard that back in college. Of taxing power also has the power to destroy. So because the government definitely needs money, and if there is income being generated by its constituents, then it is something that it can tax. Ganun lang siya. No? If you go back to the definition a while ago, it says any gain. That term any, no? And maybe some of my students are listening. Any po 'yon, legal or illegal. So kung tatanungin niyo ako, pati ho ba yung illegal income taxable? Why, yes, it is. No, it is and has been taxable for the longest time. Similar to what all the income that we're all generating now through cryptocurrency is, no? Maybe there's an offshoot webinar for this on social media earnings, but it all goes down to that definition. Any gain realized is called income. Any. Therefore, pasok yan as long as it is a gain that is realized. In this case, there's a special requirement when it comes to cryptocurrencies, and that is when it is recognized as or measured in money. And as we discussed a while ago, that's why I said it's very important to know what money is or what currency is. Until cryptocurrencies are considered money or crypto or currencies in this case, then there is quite that gap where tax laws are yet to wait, no, until that bridge is built, and so the government can tax cryptocurrencies. And just to give you 2 tips is to always be updated with detailed and correct information. You attending in this webinar is one big step for that. So you should give yourself a pat on the back for that, because in a way you are also, number 2, seeking help from professionals. Just don't listen, just don't read and believe any other content online. You might be listening or reading based on maybe erroneous or insufficient information. So seek help from professionals like Taxumo. The people from Taxumo are very competent. No? So yeah, I think that's it. I think this concludes that part of me talking. So we can proceed to the question and answer portion.
All right.
Yeah.
Sige. Kev, sorry, you were gonna say something.
Yeah.
Good talk, Mike. Sakto, parang para mausapan lang natin ng law school dati.
Diba?
Yeah.
Oo. And Attorney Mike, I'm really happy that you walked us through like the basics muna, like what is currency, what is virtual, what is crypto. Kasi I think it's important that people understand that because that's sort of where we derive a lot of the things that we're saying now, no?
Yeah.
So I think I saw some comments na parang they feel like, oh no, get to the point, ganyan. Pero actually, guys, that is the point. The point is that is where all of what what Attorney Mike has been saying is based on kasi, no? So it's important that we also understand that, no? Sabi nga nila, knowledge is half the battle. Kahapon ko pa sinasabi yon. Ayan, sige. So yon. All right. I think we have a few questions from our audience.
Yeah.
Ayan. Ayan na. First question. How will they track? Decentralized nga. Anong masasabi nyo doon, attorney?
Ako muna, okay. So for me, yes, on the tracking part, I would say there's gonna be difficulty on how they can identify your income properly na malay pa ba nila kung kumita ako ng 1 million, di ba? Honestly, you can't. Similarly, pag nagbenta ka rin ng bigas na worth 1 million, paano pa ba malalaman ng gobyerno yun kung hindi mo rin naman i-declare? Ang nagkataon lang is, I think the better perspective is how can you be audited? Diba? Kasi it's on the declaration eh. Nasa sayo talaga. That's the thing about our tax system eh. Honesty system tayo. Kaya nga maraming tax evaders eh. Kasi hindi sila honest. Diba? So it's just being honest. Because why? Ito lang yan guys. Wag mo nang tignan yung taxation part. Don't look at the ano ba yan, mag-file ako ng tax returns. Ay hindi ako marunong. Hire ko si Taxumo or si Attorney Mike. Ganyan. Huwag mo na isipin yun. Isipin mo na lang ganito. Di ba kumita ka? May pera ka. Saan mo lalagay yun? Unless nilalagay mo yung pera mo sa ilalim ng kama at sa kaha mo, sa safe mo, sa bangko yan pupunta. Pag yung pera mo, ginastos mo, umiikot yan. And lalo na pag may credit card, matitrace back sa'yo. Magugulat ka at magugulat din yung government, saan niya galing yung pambili niya? It will now trigger an audit. That's the problem. So you would
AMLA. Yan ba yung AMLA, attorney?
Pwede rin yun. And as we all know, no, cryptocurrencies have been and unfortunately is still being used as a money laundering scheme, no? So there are ways you can always get away with it. But do you really want that hanging behind you? Diba? There are a lot of ways. That's why there are professionals, I told you. There's a lot of ways to be fair in paying your taxes and still get away in getting the better chunk. No? That's why we're all here. No? This webinar is for you to spur that discussion. Very raw, very, plain. Maganda pa yung playing field natin so we can have that standard. Pero yeah, mahirap. I'm telling you, just to answer it very quickly, mahirap matrack yan. No?
Oo.
That is why what they did in the States is, mahirap i-track yan. Huwag natin i-track yung mga users. I-track natin yung exchange. Bahala na si exchange. Kasi si exchange, just like what BSP has, regulated sila. So,
I
at least
see.
that's a start. Diba? So, kung user ka, medyo nandun ka pa lang sa beach, wala ka pa sa dagat. Yung mga exchanges natin, nasa dagat na nalulunod na sila. So, diba? So ngayon, pag nakakita yun ng paraan para maglakad sa lupa at habulin kayo, doon na tayo matakot. But right now, that's what we have under our regulation.
Got it. I think that's very clear, no? Anything to add, Attorney Kev?
A lot of people forget kasi na may distinction between tax avoidance at tax evasion eh. Tax avoidance, magsawa ka hanggang kaya mo. Bayad ka pa rin. So you can avoid the tax, but you can't evade it.
That's correct. And there are ways, no? There are a lot of ways to still pay your taxes properly. So, otherwise, if it was a perfect system, us lawyers would not have a job.
Exactly.
Yun, oo. We are a society of people, unfortunately or fortunately, no? Kaya yan yung, that comes with the territory, I guess.
Yeah, it does come with that.
Yan. All right. Thank you for that answer. How about the next question? Do we have another question? Ayan. Ito, interesting question. Do I need to register under DTI or SEC pa?
Not specifically unless sorry Kev, I jumped into the answer.
Go lang, go lang.
Not specifically. Because you are only required to get a DTI certification. Ito just to, again, not only for taxes, for general purpose. Maraming nagtatanong ito, kailangan ko ba ng DTI? If it's something that you would hold in public, that you will, parang engage a business on, you're gonna offer it to the public, no? Other people will buy things from you. Other people will get your services. Then you should get a DTI certification, or at least you register with a DTI. Kasi that makes sure that your trade is legal, regulated, and, at the end of it, may shadow dyan taxed ka. Okay?
I see.
But if you're just gonna be playing, maybe a lot of people now are just wondering, paano kung player ako sa isang play to earn platform, diba? Do I need it? You don't, because you're just an income earner. That is when yung kanina yung diniscuss ko na as an individual income earner, it's basically you're self-employed. Yun yung technical term doon. You don't have to have your own DTI, lalo na sa SEC. Pag SEC po, if you are a group of people na either partners kayo or you want a corporation. In fact, ngayon, pwede na isang tao lang yung corporation. Just to have a separate entity, you don't have to, but you can. No? People would see that as a security blanket. People would see that as a tax management tool. Diba? Yung na-mention ni Attorney Kev kanina, tax avoidance. That is one tax avoiding measure. Again, tax avoiding po, pwede yun. Tax evasion yung bawal. No? The way I remind my students, evasion, evil. Diba? So, pag avoidance, okay yun. So, some would have corporations above them. So, yung corporation, yung nag-trade, yung nag-engage into cryptocurrency income. Para hanggang doon lang, shielded siya on the personal capacity of the person. But, again, you don't need to. You don't need to.
So maybe something that that would help also our viewers is like how do they know they're still doing avoidance? Baka kasi evasion na pala ginagawa nila, hindi nila alam. Like what's the distinction ba? Maybe we can make it clear.
Okay, I jump in again. Ganito. First, you have to know what taxes you need to pay. Ano ba yung taxable? Yun yung first step. Ano ba ang taxable na bagay? Okay? Pag yung taxable na bagay, ginagawa mo, you're performing that income-generating activity, may kaakibat na tax yun. Pero, kinaganda ng mga tax laws natin, merong mga deductions. May mga expenses kang pwedeng ibawas. May mga cost. No? So, for you to have that avoidance aspect, maximize those available remedies na binigay na mismo ng batas. I-maximize mo yung expenses mo. Basta tama. I-maximize mo yung mga deductions mo. Mali mo, exempted pala yung income mo. Mali mo, meron palang special project si government. In the future, di natin alam na, okay, we're gonna give everyone a tax-free holiday. Lahat ng mga nag-crypto 1 year. Diba?
Please.
Bakit? Maganda yun. Tatanungin ako, hindi, posibleng gawin ng government yan. Diba? Anong government gagawa niyan? Hindi. It's actually a good idea. Some countries have done it. Even our closest neighbors have done it. Why? All of a sudden, all of these cryptocurrency companies went to them. You don't tax the persons. You tax the exchanges. You tax the companies that make the bigger money. Diba? Government are smart. Ba't ako maghahabol ng 100,000 na tao na tig-piso, kung 60,000, isang tao lang yung tinitignan ko? Fair bargain, right? So, it's the similar idea. So, ganun
Got
siya.
it. I see.
Magiging natin. So, how do you know the difference? Know what is taxable, what are the ways for you, because they're already provided. Pag hindi provided, yung way na ginagawa mo, evasion na yun.
Got it. Kung nag-invento ka ng mga expense, ganyan, gumawa ka ng mga kung ano-ano, yan.
Maraming nag-basketball, di ba? Maraming nag-basketball. Pag nagsushoot ka outside the court, hindi naman counted yun. Ganun din. Ang lahat ng, diba? Sasabihin din, 10 points to, nasa kabilang kanto ako nag-shoot. Hindi. Kasi wala naman sa rules yan. Di ba? So, same thing.
Gets. I see. Thank you for helping us understand. Pero tama ba ako? Kasi as I understand it, like, kunyari, you're like, you're doing it professionally, not professionally, but like you're earning income and you wanna report it, you need to register with the BIR. You don't need DTI, you don't need SEC, pero still, with the BIR, you will need to register. Tama, no?
Yes.
Correct.
Oo,
Correct.
tama.
Kasi
Oo. So,
income earner ka. Ganun yun. In
tama.
fact,
Ayun.
I've been hearing this kasi, some with these, lalo na just specifically maybe on play to earn gaming platforms, some would even earn more than their salary, their monthly salary. Some
Oh, I'm
even
sure.
decided to
Oo.
quit. Diba? Some decided to quit their jobs. I mean, that's a personal choice. But pwede naman pagsama no? May yun po yung purpose ng TIN, tax identification number, no? It will all attribute to that. Just apply, just get one if you don't. And if you do already have, just combine it with your already existing income. Add mo lang siya, no? Ganun lang siya.
Got
Other
it.
income siya.
Ganun siya. Oo.
Tuturuan kayo ni Taxo mo paano gawin yun.
Actually, we have that. We have that on the platform. Thank
Diba?
you. Galing mag-segue ni attorney sa plug. Oh, galing.
Ganon.
Ayan. A few more questions. Let's see. Ayan. Si attorney naman magtatanong nito. Ayan. Emotional to eh. Ayan. Attorney, sa'yo to. Kevin, yan.
What do you get in return? Will the government support crypto na? Yeah.
Mhm.
What do you get in return? For paying taxes. Okay.
So yung question ba, what do you get in return for paying taxes on your crypto deals?
Yes.
I think that's where they're coming from, yeah.
Okay, nagbayad ka ba ng bakuna mo? Kung nagbayad ka, lugi ka. Pero kung hindi ka nagbayad, pero nagkabakuna ka, yun, you got a free vaccine because of your taxes. Right? I mean, other than that, I know that's a very colloquial, the way you would look at it is, sorry, yun yung tanong sa akin kanina umaga bakit patay ka lang magbayad ng tax? But, the thing is, with your cryptocurrency deals, here's how you look at it. Look at it with the in the bigger picture. Yeah, it's gonna suck that you're gonna pay your own taxes because you're earning cryptocurrency and all. Yeah, it sucks. Trust me. We all feel that. The thing is, you're trying to churn enough money for the government to earn. And if I'm being idealistic. You might call me stupid for even thinking this way. But imagine if everyone just pays their taxes, the law of supply and demand will come to play. What will happen? So much supply is gonna happen. What's gonna happen? You're gonna drop your prices. We're gonna come up with very good industry leverage that can in fact help the economy. Yes, it sucks that you're gonna pay taxes, but at the end of it, there is a bigger benefit for everyone. Like, prices are gonna go down, people can create more jobs. Leveraging lang naman no? You won't feel it immediately But just to answer this, will government support crypto na? There are direct benefits naman. Diba? There's a direct benefit na, let's say, well, again, that's why ito na yung counterpart ng bakit si government, hinahabol niya yung mga exchanges. Hinahabol niya yung mga companies na nagra-run ng mga fintech businesses, cryptocurrency exchanges, and all of this. Kasi may kapalit yun. Yung kapalit nun is usually these government agencies would give certain tax benefits to these companies. Now, for the X number of years, you won't be liable for taxes. And in fact, us in Cagayan Economic Zone Authority, we are giving this fiscal benefits to our cryptocurrency exchanges. Now, offshore lang yung sa amin. Kumbaga, they're not transacting with anyone in the Philippines. All they have to do now is just go to the CESA, get their license, and they get a 5% gross income tax in lieu of all taxes. So 5% lang, wala na siyang iniisip. Tapos, meron pa siyang free import and exportation benefits. Tapos, yung mga tao niya, pwedeng makakuha ng working visa and a resident visa. So, merong give and take That's why a while ago, the government is chasing heavily on these companies, these exchanges, because there's a return.
Right.
Bayad ka kasi meron kang benefits. Ito yung babato kong benefits sa'yo. Unlike the users, the specific users, kaya kanina, ang hirap kayang i-track nun. Ganun din eh, hindi kita matrack, so paano kita bibigyan ng benefit? Hindi naman pwedeng hindi ka na mag-provide ng tax tapos may
Goes
benefit
both
ka pa.
ways. Yeah,
It goes
interesting.
both ways. That's the good thing about it, diba? So, if only there's a lot of remittances about it, then there might actually be a good way for people to say, that's why I want to go back to that, na magkaroon ng tax holiday. Kasi it may happen, no? And maybe one more thing, baka magbigay ng amnesty si government. An amnesty is something to say na, okay, magbayad na lang kayo, walang penalty, walang mga other interest or anything. Basta magbayad kayo ng basic tax. Eh di malinis ka na. Diba?
Right,
So,
oo.
these are the benefits that we can expect, no? But yun nga, unfortunately talaga, any income is taxable. That's the basic truth of all of this.
Got it. Thank you for that, attorney. So I just wanted to comment on, I saw one comment saying we're just answering pre-written questions. Actually, we're not. All of these questions that we have right now, we have been keeping track since the start, no? And yung mga nasagot na ni attorney with his presentation, we removed them. But otherwise, we're going through whatever questions have been asked, no? So yon, and we're super lucky that we have two attorneys here right now who are super game to answer this, no? And really wants to help educate all of us, no? So, yon. All right, let's go to our next question. Ayan. What industry does crypto trading fall under sa DTI? So, I assume is they're probably offering their service as a trader and they're getting investors. Maybe yun yung context nito. Kasi sabi naman natin kanina, kung sa sarili mo lang, di mo kailangan DTI, di ba? So I guess ito yung context nun, no?
If you're offering your services to other people and earning from that, on top of earning on the crypto trading, on your private crypto trading, no? The problem nga is if that is the only thing you do, is only crypto trading, since there is an absence of proper classification, there is no classification under the DTI. But if you're gonna look at a general sense, pwede kang financial advisor. Doon ka.
Sa bagay, oo nga.
Pwede ka doon. Pero kung kasing sasabihin mo, crypto trading, kahit ubusin mo lahat ng forms nila, wala kang makikita doon. So, they can classify you as a financial advisor or there are a lot no? Merong mga pwede ka ring sa capital markets if that's the level of your crypto trading is,
Kung whale ka na.
Oo, 'di ba? Kung medyo spilling oil na yung level of crypto trading mo, pwede kang maging capital market, pwede kang magkaroon ng sarili mong hedge fund. So, may sarili ng mga classifications. But on the crypto trading per se, wala. No? Again, we're all in the gray on that part. Ganun siya. So, puro parang ganito.
Oo. Interesting. One other question is regarding NFTs. I think mapa-flash din in a little while.
Yeah.
NFTs daw, are they taxed for having them?
Again, that's the problem right now. Wala tayong law na magsasabi nun. Kasi even the law doesn't, if you Google NFT in the tax code, walang lalabas doon. Kahit anong regulation, wala yung lalabas doon. No? Kasi una, for this one, non-fungible, it's actually a very interesting topic. Non-fungible tokens, unlike your typical tokens, this one, given ito ng gaming platforms, they're unique. Each is unique. That's why, para lang ma-appreciate na lahat, ang ibig sabihin non-fungible, non-replaceable. Diba? Unlike pag Bitcoin yan, bigyan ka ng Bitcoin na wala, bigyan ka ulit, Bitcoin pa rin yun. Same thing, same value. Unlike NFTs, they would have a certain value for themselves. Having them or holding on them, not yet taxed. Why? As long as the government says, or it doesn't classify these as something of an asset or a capital asset which have to pay for whatever taxes, wala ho tayong babayaran. Ganun lang siya kasimple.
Pero syempre, pag pinenta mo na-realize mo yung...
Iba na naman yun. Kaya kanina, di ba, whoever's holding this, pag hinodle niya lang, wala. Parang stocks naman yan di ba? If you have so many stocks, okay lang yan. Parang shares of stock. Walang mangyayari kahit sobrang 10 times na yung value. But if the moment you sell them or you converted them to cash, then income is realized.
Yes.
Taxable na siya.
Taxable na siya. Got it. Thank you. Very clear, no? And again, if you convert it to fiat, yun siya.
That's it.
Yun yung
Ganun
wala ka
yun.
na takas. Yan na yun.
Ganun. Ito, siguro may mga mahilig sa kotse dyan, sa labas. Same lang guys same lang siya. Ganyan siya tingnan. Kotse, 1998 Honda Civic SIR, magkano lang siya nung binili mo? Ngayon, almost double na yung market value. Habang hindi mo binibenta, walang income yun. So, yung 400,000 income mo, wala yun. Pero pag binenta mo na siya, versus your cost, kung ano yung difference yun yung income mo. So, kahit isang bagay, hawak mo lang siya the whole time, tumataas yung value, hindi mo na-realize, walang income tax.
Got it. All right. It's very clear. Thank you so much for that. I know, attorneys, I know it's already 3 p.m. I hope you're okay to answer a couple more questions.
I'm set
Thank
for
you so
this.
much.
Oh, I'm very
Wow,
much so
thank you so
this.
much. We really appreciate your time. Sige, ayan. I think Leej is choosing some questions that we can ask. There we go. Ayan, question. Can Axie players be compelled to register by the BIR since BIR spokesperson Cabrera's warned people who will not comply will be subject to penalty? Worst case is criminal case pa. What can you say?
Okay, answer them. Maraming questions. First question, can Axie players be compelled to register with the BIR? Per se, nakuwari, ang tanong is, Axie player ka ba? Yes. Dapat mag-register ka. Otherwise, makukulong ka, may penalty ka. Hindi. It's not the right train of thought. The way you would be required to register sa BIR, it's because you're earning income. When you earn income, then you have to pay taxes. For you to pay taxes, you need to register with the BIR. Ganun siya. So you don't follow the person. You don't follow the person's activity. You follow where the income is. If that income ay sumanib doon sa tao, yung tao na yon kailangan niya mag-register sa BIR kasi kailangan niya magbayad ng tax. So, ganun yung compelling factor niya. No? So, sabihin ng, this person earns income from it, kailangan mong mag-register. Ang tanong dyan, kung di ako nag-register, kasi ganun yun eh. But, of course, I'm not saying Pilipino hindi eh. It's human nature to avoid burden eh. Diba? That's why we're human eh. Diba? Our nature is to make things easier for us. And in this case, unfortunately, taxes are real-life burdens. The moment of birth to even after death, tinan mo after death, may taxes ka pa.
It's state taxes, nga.
Hindi mo talaga siya matatakasan eh. Diba? So, the way for you to do this na lang is to do your proper tax avoidance. That's how you would want to do it. Worst case scenario, sinasabi nga, may criminal case. Of course, it might lead to imprisonment and other penalties and surcharges. Why, yes? Because that person, by not registering, therefore not paying taxes, committed a crime. And that's just how things work.
Right. Yes.
So, follow the income. You're gonna ask me, kailangan, yes. Anong mangyayari kung hindi ka nag-register? Immediately, wala eh. I'm gonna be honest. Immediately, wala. Wala. Pero, pag nalaman at nagkaroon ng paraan para matrace to, don't forget, when it comes to tax evasion, hindi mo masasabi na 10 years ago ko pa nagawa yun. 20 years ago pa. The point of reckoning with tax evasion cases, criminal cases, is the point of discovery.
Oh.
Not point of commission. That is a very vital information there. It is when they discovered it, not when you did it. That's the problem.
Oh, that's so interesting. Akala ko, lusot ka na kapag maghintay ka lang. Hindi pala, no? So it's very, very good to know.
Of course, there's this prescriptive period thing, but within that prescriptive period, hindi ka makakatakas eh. Hindi mo masabi, tagal na yan. Hindi, criminal case yun eh. Sorry, I'll just make
sure.
Let's parallel natin sa may napatay yung isang tao. Sasabihin niya, 20 years ago ko pang pinatay yan, paparusahan mo ko ngayon. Same thing eh. Diba?
I see.
Thing.
Oo
So,
nga.
ganun siya. So, look at it that way. Yes, right now, guys, wala pa. I'm just looking after everyone here na isipin nyo na lang, di ba? 20 years
Mm-mm.
ago, Snake lang yung nilalaro natin. Ngayon may Axie na, kumikita ka pa.
Mm-mm.
Oh, fast forward 20 years, do you think we're still in the same situation? Di ba? Problem there is 20 years from now, you can still be, at a certain level,
Right.
be deemed liable. So, ingat na lang.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So, it's good to know. Good to know because guys, baka akala nyo, ay, matagal na yun eh. Hindi naman ako pinansin. So, at least now you know that, the point of discovery is very important. And honestly, guys, no, if the BIR sees na may intention kayo to pay, and this is like from our experience as well, they would actually be more forgiving towards you. Kaysa nahanap nila, uy, ito, nag-e-evade, oh. Wala ka ng takas pag ganun. Criminal case na yun. Habulin ka na talaga pag ganun, gagawin kang example. Pero if they see na, nagbabayad naman siya regularly, nagkamali lang siya, they won't like, bring down the whole book on you, kumbaga, no? They are people in the BIR after all din naman.
Correct.
So, yun. Mm-mm.
And I just want to add to that, and that's in fact a very good motivation. Pag usually ka nagbabayad, meron ko kasing tinatawag na compromise penalty or compromise na, sobrang taas, pero if you're just there willing naman to pay,
Mm-mm.
the tax people or the BIR will always, accommodate. I have yet to handle a case na, nope, wala kang pakalam. Wala, never.
Mm-mm.
It can be to the hundreds of thousands, to the millions and millions. If you're there saying, I'm willing to pay, they're willing to budge.
Mm-mm.
Diba? And it's better that way rather than you closing your account, shutting down the channel or whatever.
Sino yan?
It's nothing. It's nothing diba? Because again, ano ba nangyari? Income generating activity plus realization, may income na. Liable ka na. Ganun lang siya.
Got it. Thank you
Okay.
for that. Okay, few more questions. Lidge, meron ka na bang napili? There we go.
Okay.
From Mel Rosalinas, magkakaiba po ba ang tax ko sa employment and sa NFT games? Employment. Example, kung isang tao kumita sa trabaho na more than 250k annually, paano naman yung below 250k pagdating sa NFT? Subject to tax pa din ba siya? Again, sa scenario, employed yung tao. So, which I think is the case for a lot of people, especially playing Axie, no?
Ano lang siya nun? Mangyari, mixed income earner siya. So, ang mangyari nun, on the filing of your income tax, you'll be classified not a purely compensation income earner. Ano ka na nun? Mixed income earner ka na, subject to kasi magkakaroon ka ng percentages na nalalaroin eh. So, actually, napakagandang opportunity nun kasi that's where the first step of tax avoidance can be done.
Smart.
Diba? Kasi all of a sudden, yung compensation mo, ito, experience natin lahat. Di ba, as an employee, wala ka naman maka-receive ka lang ng sweldo mo. Wala ka nang ginawa, basta may sweldo ka. Diba? Basta may sweldo ka, hindi ka na nag-compute, di ba? Usually. Pero pag kasing mixed income earner ka, meron kang self-employed factor, you can actually have costs there, have expenses there. Malalaro mo yun. So, mangyayari, mixed income earner ka nga, pero at least you have control of one aspect. And that is yung sa self-employed mo or itong Axie gaming or any cryptocurrency games mo. Malalaro mo yun kasi may cost and expenses kang dapat, sabi ko na dapat na i-consider. Kasi again, income. Nung unang-una pa lang, inuna ko na iba ho ang revenue sa income. Kasi yung income, net of expenses and deductions na yun. So, wag niyo isipin, kumita ako ng 1 million, teka nga, ano ba yung cost mo dyan? 2, 3, 4. Eh, sa huli pala, baka wala ka naman talagang income. Diba? Or mababa lang pala talaga yung taxable income mo. Ganun yung siya tingnan.
Gets. Oo. Attorney Mike, paano yung di ba kasi meron tayong 8% na income tax na, di ba? Pero nasa sa revenue siya, yun, walang expenses yun. Yun
wala.
Pero mababa 8%. Parang yun yung kapalit.
Oo. Kaya nga, nagkaroon ka ng option pag mixed income earner ka eh. Yun yung play. Kaya ang government, kasi even under the Constitution, tax laws should be reasonable. Actually, all laws should be reasonable. Ganun siya. And in this case, it is reasonable when the taxpayer is given these options. Diba? And that's where lawyers and taxumo should come in. Diba?
Yes, oo. Ayan na kami.
To the point, I'm saying this, to the point of almost exploiting those remedies to the fullest capacity. Kasi pwede naman eh. Pwede naman. It's a tax avoidance scheme.
Yung mga remedies lang naman nawala sa batas ang bawal.
Yes. Yung wala. Yung wag mo gagawin. Di ba?
Invento ka ng remedy.
Can I point out one question? I'm looking at this comment kasi
Sure.
one
Yes.
caught my attention, yung reward. Kasi we're talking about penalties, no? Yung this is what you
Yung sa
call
rate, yung run after tax evaders, yes.
yung informer's reward. Totoo yun. It's 10% or ito 10% of the tax collected or 1 million, whichever is lower. Totoo yun. 1 million talaga.
Okay.
Lower. Pero ito yung nakakatawa doon. Di ba? May informer's reward ka. Ganito na lang. May tinuro ka. Di ba? 1 million yung tax niya. Ang sabi ng batas, sabihin natin 2 million. Diba? 2 million. Ang 10% ng 2 million is, 20 million is 2 million. Or 1 million, whichever is lower daw.
Right.
So you get 1 million. Sure yun. Yung mga requirements, syempre, hindi mo ka mag-anak yun, wala ka mag-anak sa BIR, ganyan. Tapos, yung 1 million makukuha mo. Pero here's the funny thing. You get taxed for that.
Kala mo,
Parang game show lang yan. Hindi mo mauuwi yung 1 million. Yung 1 million na yun, may tax pa rin. Pero at least, it beats. I mean, you still get it. So, totoo yun.
So, hindi lang siya specific to social media, di ba? Kasi yun lang yung sumikat ngayon. Lahat siya, tama ba?
Oo, kunwari yung suking tindahan mo na malaki, naging supermarket, tapos hindi ka pinapautang, inaway ka, yun, sumbong mo. Just kidding. But,
yan ba yung tax avoidance? Yan ba yun?
Oo, diba? So, I mean, that's what I'm trying to say. Tax evasion informers, it applies to all kinds of taxes, not only to social media influencers.
Nice.
Guys, ulitin ko lahat ng to nakakatawa eh. Itong sa social media, itong sa crypto, sa Axie and all. Guys, all of these taxes have been in place for the longest time. Wala akong bago. Yun yung masasabi ko. Walang bago dito. Yung nangyari lang, kulang pa nga. Kasi hindi nila na-identify yung taxable activity. So, I will say, we're in a safe space pa in a way right now.
Nice. Okay, and maybe just I mean in consideration of the time of our distinguished guests, no. So, maybe Lige, maybe siguro 2 more questions, a couple more questions. Yan. Edwin, what if you buy an asset using cryptocurrency? How will the government tax you if the value is volatile? Should the seller impose any tax? I guess kunyari, bumili ka ng kotse, tapos binenta niya sa'yo for 30 ETH, something like that. Paano mag-work yung tax sa ganun?
Ang maglaking problema doon yung nagbenta kasi siya yung may tax. So yung valuation na at that point of the transaction. So kung ano man yung value ni 88 ETH ba sabi mo? Basta 80 ETH.
Some ETH o some value.
Some value of ETH versus yung car or yung ito, mas maganda real estate eh. Bumili ka ng lupa. Kasi funny enough, parang just quite recently, di ba, somebody sold real estate in Axie worth 150 million US.
Yeah, oo.
Recently, di ba? So, ito real estate yung sinasabi ko, as in real life land.
As in, totoong lupa.
Bumili ka, yung mangyayari nun, yung value, mas mahirap pa nga bumili ng crypto kasi yung value ng crypto identified. For that specific time, di ba? Magiging ano na lang tayo. That's why, ito yung reason why it is not a unit of account. Why it's not a store of value. Kasi yung value niya throughout the day nag-iiba.
Right.
That's the difficulty. But if you want to be very technical about it, that's why not many people would do it, is the moment you transact it, and the question is, when was it transacted? When there's a meeting of minds, pag nag-agree na both parties. That moment, magkano ba yung ETH na yan versus magkano ba yung property, let's say real estate, yun yung magiging basis.
Interesting.
For capital gains. Kaya mahirap. Pero, madali siyang i-track. Kasi malalaman mo, magkano ba yun? 80 ETH. Kung magkano ba yung each ETH on that specific time. It can be argued that way.
I see. So in this case, hindi siya upon conversion to fiat.
Hindi kasi na-realize mo siya yun yung difference na ngayon. Kasi that's why I said in my conclusion a while ago, either it is in money or recognizable in money. Di ba? Yung real estate, ang tanong mo naman dyan, magkano yan eh. Di ba? And ang tanong mo sa real estate, magkano? So therefore, it is translatable or realized or measured in money. So, realized na siya nun.
Got it.
It's not all, tama yung question. It's very good that they highlighted it. Na it's not always when you only convert it to fiat, but if you exchange it into something that is measurable with money.
Gets.
So, kuwari, let's say, let's say I perform services. Kuwari, barbero ako, di ba? Tapos, I charge 500 pesos. Mahal yung gupit ko eh. Diba? Parang gupitan ni Kevin ngayon eh. So, 500 ako. Nagpagupit sa binayaran niya ako ng ETH. So, ibig sabihin, yung basis nun is my value as a barber. 500 yung value ko. So, express in money pa rin siya. So, na-realize pa rin siya.
Okay. That's very, very interesting. So, when you sell an Axie, let's say, breeding ka, may breeding ka ng Axie, tapos nag-sell ka ng Axie, yun, realize na ba yun?
Ang question, ano yung kapalit?
Ang kapalit, of course, is yung wet.
Na Axie or yung
Crypto pa rin. Yung kapalit.
Kunyari, crypto din.
Wala pa. Kasi hindi pa siya in recognizable fiat or measured in money. Kasi
Gets. Unlike yung lupa, meron kasing value yan na pera. Yung gupit, may value yan, may presyo.
Yung serbisyo, yung bagay, may attributed price and service fee na eh. So, na-convert na.
So, it doesn't matter kasi di ba pag pumunta ka sa marketplace ng Axie, may nakalagay $300. Wala yun. Parang estimate lang, parang gano'n.
Oo, value lang yun. Unrealized
so interesting.
Yun. That is the
unrealized pa rin yun.
Kaya, I keep on repeating kanina, don't forget, may gain, may IGA tayo, income generating activity, plus realization. Pag na-realize na.
Interesting. Diba? Okay. This is great. I'm personally learning so much, no? So thank you. And maybe, Nij, one last question for our guests. Ayan, question. For example, nag-declare na ako now, paano po yung mga previous earnings? Subject to tax rin po ba yun? Or yung mga future transactions earnings lang? I guess when they register, do they just pay taxes on yung moving forward or pati yung dati bayaran nila?
Typically kasi, ito na yung kinaganda ng annual natin. You can even say for past taxes, you can. Pwede ka magbayad ng, sabihin mo, undeclared. I've been doing this for the past 3 years. Tama ba? 2018 nagawa si Axie eh. So, for the past 3 years, since day 1, nag-Axie na ako, ganun. Tapos, naisip ako, dahil dun sa webinar ng Taxumo, na-enlighten ako. So, nag-register ako ngayon. Pwede ho kayo magbayad ng back taxes nyo. Pwede.
May penalty yun.
May penalty, pero compromise penalty. Yun yung kinaganda nun. Yun yung sinasabi yung mabait si BIR. Kasi nag-volunteer ka.
Got it.
Parang 1,000 lang yata yun, di ba, Kev? Ganun lang yun eh. Mababa lang yun. Ganun lang siya, yung penalty mo. Di ba? 1,000 mo, parang wala pa sa isang araw na pag-axie mo, di ba? So, and then you can pay moving forward. That's what's the good thing about it. That's the good thing about it. And ito, on a practical note lang. Practical. Guys, mas magandang mag-register kasi ang mas hinahabol yung nagtatago. Diba?
Nakakagigil. Gigil sila sa nagtatago.
Gigil sila eh. Kasi parang pag boring ka na eh. Ay, okay na, nagbabayad na yan. Diba? Okay na yan. hindi yan exciting. Hindi namin pwedeng i-post yan sa website namin. Hindi kami pwedeng magkaroon ng news about it. So, I'm doing this kind of tone because I really want people to be very acclimated to this. It's not so complicated. I hope you don't go antagonistic about it. It's that simple when it comes to taxes, no. I see a lot of comments no, wag magko-convert. Okay 'yun. Okay lang. Diba? Hodl lahat. Okay lang din. Diba?
Yeah, if you have the privilege of hodling, no?
Yeah.
Sounds like a good deal.
My friends pala, no, yung mga taga BPCL law. Hi guys.
There you go. Sorry. Guys, is it okay one last question daw? Because sabi ni Lich, may magandang question on a manager-scholar relationship.
Yes.
Ano to? Pag-ibig ba to? Anong relationship to? Sige nga, Lich. Is there an employer-employee relationship between Axie scholars and their managers based on the fourfold test? If yes, are managers required to give employee benefits?
Tinanong ka ng prof mo na to, no?
Classmate ko yung si Ed yata eh. I mean, I think itong si Edge, classmate ko to nung college eh. Hi, Edge. Um, pareho kami ng basis niya. Pero tama. The fourfold test requires na first, di ba, parang there's control. Di ba? The most important there is control, di ba? And then there's that you compensate, you fire, you hire, and put standards, di ba? Yun naman yung ano natin eh. In this case, to answer it, I don't think there is a strict employee relationship in general. Kaya kanina, if you notice my slide, under sa scholar, may compensation. Kasi pwede. Pwede niyang i-hire yung tao. Basta, ano lang. Basta, again, tama si Edge na pag yung fourfold test pasok, magkakaroon ng employer-employee relationship. No one's stopping you from having, let's say, di ba you can play more than 20 Axies ba at a time?
Yes. So, with more energy.
Let's say I have sobrang dami ko eh. So I hire people to play the others. I can have a contract with them. That's even more humanitarian, in fact. Diba? You can, as long as it complies with the fourfold test. And since they're employees, just to answer the second question, employees should always have employee benefits. So balik ka na sa standard labor laws natin nun. It doesn't veer away from, hindi crypto to, no. Wala na yun. The moment that there's an employer-employee relationship, benefits should come in. Just to give you a maximized analogy, gusto ko may taong taga-bukas ng bote ng tubig ko. Ganun lang. Every time that I want water, I hire him or her as an employee. Same thing. Gets all of the employee benefits as long as the fourfold test under labor law, the labor laws are complied with.
I see.
Pwede.
So
But
if you have a
as it stands,
contract,
wala.
sorry.
As it stands kasi na as long as you're deriving benefits, it doesn't really entail employer-employee relationship eh. Na kumikita ka tapos sabi niya, ito gawin mo, ito yung technique dyan, tinuturuan niya. It's not really the control eh. Control would require a degree of, hindi man control, I'd say deep management of things. No? Tuturuan niya na gusto ko ganito mo siya gawin, here's where you do it, here's the time that you must do it. Parang
naka-uniform, gano'n.
Parang gano'n, laruin mo yan sa bahay.
Scholar ko, naka-uniforms, 8 to 5.
Galing, diba?
Ganun yung mga ginagamit.
To that level.
Kasi yun, hindi mo na malalaban na, that's obviously control. I guess
That's definitely
point,
control. No? Pero kunwari, sinabi lang na, yun nga, parang,
farm ka lang
dyan. Output-based.
Output. Walang ano.
At output, kasi depende rin naman yung kita nila kung magkano yung...
Basta ma-hit mo lang yung target. Wala na pakialam yung guy. Medyo hindi pa
very interesting. Oo.
Got it. 6 a.m. dapat live ka na, minomonitor ka niya, may timesheet ka. Yan.
All right. Okay, I think for me that's clear, no? And I think what you raised a while ago about having a contract, I think that's a good thing. Like clarifying nyo na kasi with the with the person you're working with, Yeah,
you have to be very clear about it. And so it's gonna be easier to compute the taxes. I think one of the questions is about computation of taxes. Kasi at the end of it, paano ang titignan mo lang dyan to compute taxes is, una-una, sino yung kumita? Diba? Yung basis mo, again, go back, always chase the income. So whoever earns the income, yun lang. So kuwari, may split yan, diba? Usually 60-40, may mga palaban na 50-50 yung share, diba? So yung sa cut mo na yun, tignan mo na yung cut mo, tapos i-add mo lahat yan for the entire year. So kuwari, kung yun lang naman yung basis ng income mo, kung hindi yung sumobra na ng 250, wala kang tax.
Right.
Oo.
Diba? Huwag mo na problemahin yung iba. Bahala na sila. Yung sayo.
Yung sayo, tingnan mo siya. So, kuwari, ikaw yung manager, marami pala silang mga scholars mo, di ba? All you have to do is become very organized. Kasi tignan mo na lang, saan yung part ng income mo doon, tapos saan yung part ng income nila. Yung income nila, you put it on a very nice ledger na nag-accumulate yan. So, clear naman kasi yung terms. Kaya sinabi mo kanina, EJ, na dapat may contract. Mas maganda yun. Again, that's another sphere. But trust me, I think it's gonna be a series of many problems in the future. Guys, if just to give you free legal advice, for managers, have a contract with your scholars. Okay? Lalo na, di ba, nagkakaroon pa ng problem na nagpa-adopt ka na ng Axie doon, tapos hindi ka naka-log out, tapos na-deem siyang double usage, tapos mabablock ka. O anong mangyayari ngayon? Wala kayong kontrata. Magtuturuan kayo. Di ba?
Mm-mm.
So, lagyan nyo na yun sa kontrata. So, yung mga ganung bagay, magandang ilagay nyo na sa terms para madali rin i-compute, ma-identify nyo sino ba yung kumita, kailan siya kumita. Ganun nyo na siya masasabi. Hindi mo na kailangan ilagay kung magkano yung hatian nyo sa
Mm.
form. Kasi, again, accumulated naman yan for the year.
Right.
Ganun lang.
Great. It's very clear, no? Very clear for me. I think it's very very clear na yung part mo. So wala nang I mean, tapos yung part ng let's say scholars, let's say you're a manager, yung part ng scholars, they pay for their taxes. Yung part mo, you pay for your taxes, no? So I think
Yeah,
that's
ganun.
essentially how
You
it
just have to
works,
be very
no?
organized talaga. Totoo.
Mm-mm. Okay, that's very clear. Thank you for that. I think that's everything. Lidge, meron bang any question hahabol? Meron ba? Or that's it? Because I do want to kawawa naman si Attorney Mike, no? Medyo wala pa yung tagabukas niya ng tubig eh. Siya na yung
Oo
nagbubukas
nga,
ng
ang
tubig
tagal
niya eh.
na-late
So,
eh.
Oo
oo,
na yan,
tagal.
I will sever the employer-employee relationship.
There you go.
Show cost mo na.
Oo. Ayan. Sige, so with that, no, thank you so much, Attorney Mike and Attorney Kevin. No, thank you so much for giving your insights and for helping us understand ano ba ang crypto in the context of Philippines, no? Philippine taxes. I think, and tama ka kanina, sabi mo, the people who are here took the first step, and I do agree with that, they're not coming into this unprepared and bulag na magugulat na lang sila na ganyan na they're actually educating themselves. And you're right, that is a very big thing, and that will, that usually people who do that, what we've seen, they are usually successful people, no? So kudos
Yeah.
to you guys. Before we end, Attorney Mike, Attorney Kevin, any last words? Oh, sorry, parting words pala. Ayaw nating
Yeah.
last words.
Napas mo. Kinabahan mo. Kaka-vaccine ko
Hindi
lang.
walang tulog, walang gising.
Yeah, I guess kanina rin yung suggestion ko, it's good that just always take in good and updated information and get yourself a professional to advise you. And again, just on that business, kasi this is a very volatile industry. Do your homework, and that's the best way you can go moving forward. Sabi nga ni EJ, it's a sure way to success. You know things.
Yun. Thank you, Attorney Mike. Attorney Kev, how about
Sa akin,
you?
it's, people shouldn't get too bothered na gusto siya i-tax or everything. Kasi this is a good thing na nire-recognize siya ng government. So, this can be pushed for more na mainstream adoption. So, kumbaga kung pangarap mo is talaga maging full-time na Axie player, scholar, manager, the more na ma-regulate siya, the more rin na mas, kumbaga yung kinita mo, pwede mo pang biyahe, pang bayad ng travel visa, mga ganung bagay. Yung Axie mo, pang collateral mo sa bangko, eventually, pwede rin yun. Bakit hindi, di ba? Yun naman yung goal eh. More mainstream crypto adoption. So, this is a step to it. Masakit lang kasi tax, pero ganun talaga buhay.
Oh, but once they start taxing, that means they're recognizing it, no? So
May benefit na rin yan, kabalik.
yes, that's good. That's good to know. Thank you so much, Attorney Mike, Attorney Kevin, for your time, no? And just for everyone here, thank you so much for being here. If you have any other questions, I'm sure we didn't get to all of the questions. I'm sure you may have a lot of questions, no? This video will be saved on our Facebook page, so you can rewatch it. Pag nag-register na kayo, panoorin nyo ulit para magets nyo. Aside from that, you can also visit our website, www.taxsumo.com. And there are resources there to help you. We'll be adding more because ang daming breaking news, guys, social media, influencers, crypto. So we'll be adding some more content for you. But there are also customer service representatives who are there ready to answer your questions. So just go to the website. There's a little chat button, and you can talk to our customer service reps there, no? And we'll be more than happy to help you. And with that, we will end today's webinar here. Thank you so much again, Attorney Mike, Attorney Kevin, and thank you, everyone, for watching the webinar. Have a good one.